He messaged me. I maxed out your credit card on a guy's trip to Miami. You make more than enough. The notification lit up my screen at 2:17 a.m., bright and casual, like he'd sent a selfie instead of a confession. I read it twice. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I wanted to feel the exact moment something inside me closed. I was still awake, sitting at my kitchen table with a half-finished glass of water, the apartment quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Inside, my phone glowed with the evidence of his entitlement. Miami. My credit card. You make more than enough. He'd said it like generosity was a tax I owed him. Like my long hours, my promotions, my discipline were communal property. I pictured him poolside under neon lights, laughing with his friends, my name embossed in silver on the card he'd swiped without hesitation. The audacity wasn't loud. It was smooth. Assumed. Practiced. And in that still, rain-soaked kitchen, I realized something important. He didn't think there would be consequences. I've always been the responsible one. In my family, in my friend group, in every relationship, I was the steady income, the emergency contact, the person who read contracts before signing them. I built my career from internships and late nights, climbing slowly until my salary outpaced most people around me. I never bragged about it. I didn't need to. He used to call me ambitious, like it was adorable. Like it was a personality quirk instead of discipline. We'd been together 3 years. Long enough for routines to feel permanent. Long enough for my card to be saved on his phone for convenience. At first it was groceries. Then dinner when he forgot his wallet. Then flights he'd pay back next week. He always paid some of it back, just enough to look sincere. I ignored the small discomforts because love, I told myself, meant flexibility. Support. Believing in someone while they figured things out. He was between opportunities. I was doing well enough. That phrase again. Doing well enough. I started noticing how easily my effort became invisible. How quickly generosity turned into expectation. He'd joke with friends about how I was his safety net, and they'd laugh like it was charming. I laughed too. But somewhere along the way, I stopped being his partner. I became his resource. The Miami trip wasn't the first line he crossed. It was just the first one he wrote down. Before that, it was smaller things, almost polite in their audacity. At dinners with his friends, he'd rest his arm on the back of my chair and say, "She's the boss, she's got it," when the bill arrived. He'd grin like it was a compliment. I'd catch the quick glance his friends exchanged, half impressed, half amused, while I reached for my wallet. Once, when I suggested we split expenses more evenly, he kissed my forehead and said, "Don't be transactional." His tone was light. Playful. The kind that makes you question whether you're overreacting. When his car needed repairs, he didn't ask. He sighed heavily at the kitchen counter, scrolling through estimates, waiting. I transferred the money before he finished explaining. He started introducing me as the successful one, stretching the word just enough to make it sound like distance. At night, he'd joke about how lucky he was. "I picked well," he'd say, squeezing my hand. Picked. Like I was an investment that matured on schedule. Each moment was quiet. Almost affectionate. But together they formed a pattern, a slow, careful erosion of respect disguised as love. His text about Miami wasn't followed by an apology. It was followed by a beach photo. Blue water. Sunglasses. A caption. Worth it. That was the moment something shifted, not explosively, not dramatically. Just cleanly. I opened my banking app and watched the charges line up in neat, undeniable rows. Flights. A resort suite. Bottle service. Thousands of dollars spent with the casual confidence of someone who believed access meant ownership. I scrolled back through our messages. There it was in black and white. I maxed out your credit card. Not borrowed. Not used. Maxed out. He wasn't hiding. He didn't think he had to. For years, I'd convinced myself that love required elasticity, that bending was strength. But elasticity without limits becomes permission. And permission becomes entitlement. I didn't cry. I didn't call him. I didn't draft a dramatic speech in my head. I simply called the credit card company. My card was used without authorization, I said evenly. I have written proof. The representative's voice was calm, procedural. A fraud claim was opened. The card was frozen. An investigation began. It wasn't revenge. It was correction. For the first time in years, I wasn't absorbing the impact. I was redirecting it. I work in corporate compliance. Fraud isn't emotional to me. It's procedural. By the time he was boarding his return flight, I had already downloaded every statement, every charge, every timestamp. I screenshotted his confession. I forwarded the beach photo. I backed everything up to cloud storage and an external drive. Redundancy is a habit. When the fraud department asked if I'd given him permission to use the card, I answered carefully. No. Not for those transactions. Precision matters. They explained the process: provisional credit, investigation, potential escalation. Because the amount exceeded a certain threshold, they advised filing a police report to strengthen the claim. So I did. I walked into the station in a navy blazer straight from work. I didn't dramatize. I presented documentation. Dates. Messages. The exact moment consent ended. The officer read the text where he'd written, "You make more than enough." His eyebrow lifted slightly. He admitted it? He asked. Yes. There was no shaking in my voice. No visible anger. Just clarity. I didn't call him to warn him. I didn't block him either. I let him keep texting updates about his legendary weekend. Meanwhile, I reviewed our lease. Only my name was on it. Every move I made was quiet. Documented. Final. He was at work when the detectives arrived. I know because he called me at 11:42 a.m., his voice stripped of its usual ease. "Why are there officers here asking about Miami?" He whispered like the word itself had turned dangerous. I didn't answer immediately. I pictured the scene instead. Fluorescent office lights, co-workers pretending not to listen, two detectives standing politely but firmly beside his desk. No handcuffs. No drama. Just questions asked in calm, measured tones. "I reported my card as stolen," I said finally, "and provided the texts." Silence. "Then, you didn't have to do that." I let that settle between us. The bank reversed the charges within days. His accounts were flagged. His employer, bound by its own ethics policy, placed him on administrative leave pending review. Fraud investigations have a way of traveling quietly but thoroughly. He came home that evening pale, careful. For the first time since I'd known him, he knocked before entering. The locks hadn't changed yet. They didn't need to. The shift was already visible. He wasn't angry. He was afraid. And I wasn't shaking. I was calm. Because consequences, when delivered without theatrics, don't feel like revenge. They feel like gravity. Word travels differently when it carries paperwork behind it. His friends stopped tagging him in photos. The group chat went quiet. One of them messaged me privately. "We didn't know it was your card." As if that detail changed the math. As if theft becomes humor when it's anonymous. At his office, the story shifted from epic Miami weekend to internal review. People who once laughed at his jokes now avoided eye contact in the hallway. Reputation doesn't explode, it thins. It frays at the edges until there's nothing solid left to hold. My phone buzzed with calls from him, then from his mother. She spoke carefully, asking if we could handle this privately. I explained that I already had, through the proper channels. The stakes were never just money. They were about consent. About the quiet assumption that success makes you public property. About how easily generosity gets rewritten as obligation. You should care because this isn't about a credit card. It's about the moment someone decides your hard work is theirs to access. It's about what happens when you let that slide, again and again, until there's nothing left of your boundaries. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the standard. And suddenly everyone could see it. He moved out within a week. There were no slammed doors, no dramatic speeches. Just cardboard boxes, neatly folded clothes, and the quiet acknowledgement that some lines, once crossed, don't uncross. The investigation continued without my involvement. I had already given them everything they needed. The apartment feels different now. Larger. Not because of the space he occupied, but because of the space I reclaimed. For a long time, I confused patience with virtue. I thought endurance proved love. But love without respect is just slow erosion. I see that clearly now, not with bitterness, but with precision. I changed my passwords. Closed the joint streaming account. Increased my savings contributions. Small, practical acts of self-trust. Friends have asked if I regret reporting him. I don't. I regret only how long I mistook tolerance for kindness. The future looks uncomplicated. My work continues. My promotions will be mine alone. The next person who stands beside me will stand there by invitation, not entitlement. I didn't destroy him. I simply stopped protecting him from the consequences of his own choices. And in doing that, I protected myself. Some people call that revenge. I call it peace.